everybody. My name is Leslie Pyle, and I am the founder of HireMyMom.com. Today, I'm excited to have Craig Cannings with FreelanceU here to share all of the wonderful things they're doing to help you grow in all of the skills and expertise that you need to either grow your freelance business or get started. So, Craig, thank you for joining me.
So nice to be here today, Leslie.
Yeah, so tell us what made you want to start FreelanceU? And it's been, I think we've been going at it about the same amount of time. Are you right at 14 years or so?
Yeah, we're almost 14 years, but what made me start or made us start Freelance U was actually the story started like 5 years earlier than that. So my wife and I actually have been freelancing since 2003. So I'm dating ourselves a little bit. So we're on like year 18.
I got
And the
you
first
beat there.
few, what's that? Sorry?
I've got you beat. I started back when I had my first baby and she's 25.
Oh, wow. Okay. You totally have us beat. But yeah, so we started in 2003 freelancing for a software company that was selling sort of educational software back then. And that was our first sort of introduction into the freelance world. And there were no blogs back then on freelancing or how to be a VA. There were no courses. There were no experts. Everything was like trial by fire. Like you had to learn how to find a client, how to set up your website,
Yeah.
how to build your services, and all of those things. And so
Yeah. I wish I had
over
known
the
you back then.
I know it would have been nice to like at least have someone to collaborate with.
Yeah.
And so anyways, we were kind of learning, just it was like the school of hard knocks, trying to figure out freelancing. And during the time that we were contracting to this company, the company added 40 new freelancers. And so it was in this sort of fast growth phase. And the owner of the company asked me to train all the new people. So
Wow.
teach them, train them, and I was creating manuals and videos on how to onboard all these people into our world. And I realized that I had a bit of a knack for it, and I loved it. I loved the training and development piece, even though my background's in counseling and psychology. I love teaching. And that kind of led us and inspired us to eventually in 2008 launch our own platform for VAs and freelancers. Because we were teaching and training within the context of a company, we thought, well, what would it look like to actually do this for a lot of VAs and freelancers that may be looking to start their business and work with companies that were just like ours? And so that led us to start what back then was called VA Classroom. And we were predominantly working with virtual assistants. And over the years, we've morphed and evolved. And now we're Freelance University and still work with a lot of virtual assistants and people doing all sorts of different types of freelance work. So that sort of inspired our journey into sort of education for this industry.
Right. So if people aren't familiar with FreelanceU, you're quite different than some of the VA training programs because you offer a variety of courses. I think over 80.
Yes, over 80. And so it started with one in 2008. We were teaching virtual assistants on how to understand internet marketing. And then the second course was social media. And then it just kind of stacked based on demand. We saw different opportunities emerge. And so we created training. And so early on, I was learning as fast as I was teaching. So I'm learning how to understand Facebook and then teach it to our students so that they could offer a service in Facebook to their audience. And that was sort of the early stages of our business. And now today we have 80 courses across 8 core training tracks. And the tracks are designed based on what we see happening in the market. So where are VAs and freelancers getting the most work? So we want to create sort of technical skill-based programs that help them to level up and make sure that they're current. So they're not coming to a client and the client saying, well, you don't have this skill, and this skill.
Right.
Therefore, I don't think I'm able to work with you. So
Right.
keeping them competitive and make sure that they're relevant in the light of our current economy and the light of our current sort of digital landscape.
Right. So I saw that, like, if you want to learn things about digital marketing, you have that, or if you just want to learn MailChimp or Active Campaign. So it's really a very well-rounded platform.
It is. And sometimes you'll have a client that you think you're doing something for them. Maybe you've come to be a blogger for them. You're writing their blog posts and suddenly they're like, well, we would like you to know WordPress because we don't want you to just write the blog post. We'd like you to format it in WordPress.
Yes.
And we actually have a newsletter in MailChimp that we'd love you to sort of write for as well. And could you also design the newsletter? And
Mhm.
so it's like this sort of deepening relationship with a client. And suddenly you need WordPress skills and MailChimp skills. And you're saying, well, I'm a writer. I'm a blogger. I'm not a MailChimp expert. But in this day and age, you have to have a level of versatility, because clients' needs are evolving. And if you want to grow with them, your skills have to grow with them as well.
Right. And it makes you more marketable for other positions. If what you're doing with this client isn't enough, then having the additional skills will land you additional clients, which is the goal if you're not
Absolutely.
fully
And
booked.
and like I said, there is when years ago in freelancing, there were people that were just social media people, or there were virtual administrators, or there were copywriters. And that's still true today, but even those roles, they're seeing the need to be more versatile and
Mhm.
have other skill sets. So, for example, you mentioned digital marketing. To have a good understanding of digital marketing, even though you're doing virtual administration or online business management, it helps you understand the bigger picture of how this company's marketing. Even if you're not doing the nitty gritty of all of their search engine optimization and their YouTube channel, you're not doing all those things, you understand it. And so that's what a lot of our students love is they can come and get a good overview of a lot of different areas to prepare them for what might come next in their
Right.
business.
Yes, absolutely. That's a
Mhm.
great point. Okay, so we're going to move on to the pandemic because there's not a person on the earth that hasn't experienced this crazy pandemic. So, how has that influenced remote and freelance work opportunities, in your opinion?
Oh goodness. Do you have an hour?
We could
It's
talk all day.
yeah, I mean this topic, it was interesting. We went through such a hard year in your country, mine, around the world. Economically, health-wise. I mean, our health systems were bogged down. There's so much adversity. And yet in our community at the university, I would be hearing, "Oh, I landed my fifth client. Oh, I'm busy. I just added a team member." And it was like people were flourishing in this space in the midst of sort of somewhat of a train wreck all
Yeah.
around us. And that's what's happened with a lot of our students. A lot of them will say, I had my best year in 2020,
Mhm.
not because yes, I worked at it and I was hustling and I was doing all those things, but people needed my services more than ever before.
Mhm.
They were pivoting online. I was working with coaches and speakers that couldn't go to conferences anymore. And so now they were saying, how do I package my knowledge into blog posts, or how do I package my knowledge into an online course?
Right.
But I don't know how to set up an online course. I don't know how to use Kajabi or Teachable or any of these platforms. So I need your help. Other examples were brick and mortar stores that quickly shifted to e-commerce. If they didn't have an online store before, after March 2020, they realized we need a better website. We need to be doing search engine optimization. We need to have an online store. But
Yeah.
how do I do this? And so we were creating training at that time on courses like Shopify,
Mhm.
because our students were saying, my client wants to set up a Shopify store. I have no idea how to do it. And they definitely don't have an idea how to do it. Can you help us? And so we were like, as fast as the market was shifting during the pandemic, we were busily creating courses more than we ever had before to respond to sort of that need. And it paid off. Like we've seen students that started full-time businesses setting up Shopify stores, and they didn't have any experience with e-commerce before, but they learned it, they studied it, they got better than their client, and
Mhm.
suddenly they were off to the races. And so it's really, I think the other thing is that the whole world went remote for the most part, aside from essential services.
Yes.
And there were companies that never thought they could actually function in a remote context that
Mhm.
actually thrived. And
Right.
to the point, I've heard many that are saying, we're going to have a remote sort of component, or maybe we'll stay fully remote even once the pandemic's finished. And so now the idea of working with remote teams, working with contractors from afar, uh, doesn't seem like such a weird thing. It's becoming more mainstream. And so
Right.
that bodes well for VAs and freelancers, that's what they do. We make our living working remotely with
Right.
companies. So
And
so the opportunities are amazing.
yeah, I would fully agree. It's like a blessing in disguise because, there are
Yes,
so
yes.
many moms that say, oh, I wish my employer would let me work from home. Bam, they had to let them work from home for the most part. So it was
Yes.
almost like a forced trial run for businesses to do this remote work. Those that were afraid, those that just put it off or whatever it might have been, we're pretty much forced to do it. And so, like you said, a lot of them have seen the benefits and will at least allow their employees or contractors to work remote part-time, which is better than none at all. In fact, that's what led me to start my freelance business. Is I had my very first job after finishing my master's degree and got pregnant, thought I'd want to go back to work, had full intentions on going back to work. And then motherhood did something to me I didn't expect. And I was like, I cannot go back to full 40-hour week job and leave this baby. I can't do it. It's just not in me. It's not in my DNA. So long story short, my employer, this was 25 years ago, that was like, you're going to sit home and eat bonbons. I have to watch you and make sure you're working. And so obviously that didn't work out for me. And I was like, I've got to figure this out. I don't know how to freelance. I don't know how to do anything. I wish I knew Craig and his wife back then, but I didn't. And I just had to figure it out. So
Mm.
I'm excited for what this means for future moms, freelancers, dads, whoever, because I do think it's opening a lot more doors to either work for a company remotely or start their own freelance business and be in control of all of the scheduling, the flexibility, the time, the income, and everything.
Yeah, your story echoes ours. My oldest daughter just started college this year. So I have five daughters, and our oldest has just turned 19. And she was one when I left my counseling practice outside the home and returned home to work. So that's going on 18 years. And so the rest of my children don't actually understand the concept of people working outside the home. It's like so when the world went remote, they're like, oh, well, that's just normal.
Yeah,
That's just how we roll at our house. And so,
right.
but like you said, I mean, the blessings of being able to, and we've worked hard, no doubt during the years. It's not like we, like you said, ate bonbons and watched Netflix, although they didn't
Right.
have it back then.
Back then it would have
But
been soap operas, I guess. I don't know.
yes, soap operas or whatever novelty you would fall into. But uh, yeah, but the thing is, it created this flexibility so that, our kids, we could invest in our family and we could have freedoms. And sometimes that meant working late at night or early in the morning so that we could invest, in our kids when they needed us, especially when they were younger. Now they're older, they're a little more self-sufficient.
Yeah,
They still need us to a certain degree.
right. Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. Okay, so what specific niches do you think will be most in demand over the next year?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I would, virtual assistants have grown in leaps and bounds, and I'm not talking about the bots because some people will say, "Oh, is that a human or is that a robot you're talking about?" Yes, the bot virtual assistant has grown in the last number of years, but so has the human. And
Mhm.
so a lot of businesses are recognizing that they need someone to manage their day-to-day sort of administrative tasks. It could be their day-to-day projects. And so the virtual administration field is actually growing. There was a time where it seemed like people were leaving VA work and becoming social media people or becoming email marketing people, or they're moving into other areas. And now we're seeing lots of opportunities to serve as a VA, whether you're doing research work, document preparation, you're doing customer service,
Mhm.
in a digital context. So you're running your client's live chat or their help desk or all sorts of things. So lots of opportunities for VAs, sort of in I shouldn't say a traditional sense, but sort of administrative type work.
Yeah.
So that's growing. And then, like I said, e-commerce,
Mhm.
helping online stores with all of their activities, not only just setting up their stores, but adding new products, managing their customer service, helping them with fulfillment. All those things are going to be growing in the next year. And then one of the areas that most excites me is the growth in e-learning that we saw. So when everyone returned home, there was this massive spike in online course consumption. And so
Mhm.
e-learning was growing, and then the pandemic happened, and then it was like putting gasoline on a fire. And
Mhm.
suddenly it just went like this. People that didn't think they would be course creators, like fitness studios, they're now live streaming their fitness classes and they're running online courses. They suddenly turned into course creators. And so if you can learn platforms like Kajabi or
Mhm.
Teachable or Thinkific, I'm telling you, you could launch a full-time business just offering course development services. And
Wow.
not so much you're the course creator, you're the one that makes it look good. You set up the
Right.
pages, you upload the videos, you put the resources, and
Mhm.
you get the course ready to sell in a digital environment. That is a terrific skill set to have right now. And then, of course, digital marketing, because a lot of local businesses had to sort of go from a traditional marketing mindset
Mhm.
to sort of an internet or digital marketing mindset. They've had to learn social media and email marketing and all those things, and so all those areas are very much in demand. So if you have digital marketing skills, you could do a whole variety of things for clients as well. And then also the whole OBM field, I think the
Mhm.
online business management field, that kind of complements or dovetails the VA field.
Mhm.
A lot of businesses are looking for a point person that
Right.
is their office manager, but virtually.
Yeah.
Now they're going remote. And so now they have their VOM or
Yeah.
OBM or whatever you want to call them. One of our students just landed a job because we have a pretty good job. We have a few jobs that certainly come through our university as well. And it was with a nutritional consultant that had a sort of or he was a nutritionist and dietitian and had an office for years. Suddenly with COVID, he was in California. He had to turn everything virtual and needed a virtual office manager. Anyways, she landed a job. I think it's freelancing. It's 20 hours a week, but it's all done virtually. And she is his go-to for all
Right.
things in his company. And so that's another growth area. Lots of cool areas right now.
Yes, and I agree because we're seeing a lot of all of those jobs come through. And
Yeah.
as you said, the virtual assistant is one that's there's so many varieties, from
Yeah.
customer service to true admin to, blog manage it, whatever it might be. There are so many different varieties. And so
Mhm.
those are definitely on the uptick. So, and all these small businesses are now seeing I can hire someone remote and they really will work, so I think it's been, a an eye-opening experience in a lot of ways for people.
It is. I was talking with uh, I go on a lot of different podcasts, and Kelly had said, there's this roofing podcast, like for construction companies, they're really popular, and they really want to know how to work with VAs. Can you do this? Even though it seemed initially out of scope, but
Right.
it turned out to be a terrific interview because they're trying to figure out, how do I work with remote team? Does it actually make sense? And that was the question, was like, how do I keep people motivated when they're at home and
Mhm.
they're not in my office? And I'd said to him, I said, you have to look at these people as entrepreneurs. They're business owners. They're partnering in your success. They're motivated, they're self-directed, they've shifted from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. And so they're the best kind of people to work with,
Right.
because they want great references. They want, to shine a positive spotlight on their brand. And so there's no benefit to them to sit at home watching Netflix and not doing the work. It just will implode their own business. That's not how they're wired. That's not the kind of approach that they want to take. So
Right.
yeah, I think it opened his eyes to say, hey, yeah, I guess we're not dealing with employees. We're dealing with people that are business owners that are partnering with us in our success.
Right. And as a freelancer, you want to do the best job you can. Number one, to
Yeah.
keep that freelance gig going on,
Mhm.
ongoing, and to word of mouth referrals, because they may have a friend that needs those services versus an employee where the business owner feels sort of stuck that you're their person unless they have to fire you.
Mhm.
They don't really want to, and it's not the word of mouth referral. So you do have a lot more motivation as a freelancer to do an amazing job. And I think,
Absolutely.
as speaking from the mom side, moms are typically so thankful for the opportunity to work from home and be able to have that flexibility. I think they go above and beyond. And I'm sure that's
Mhm.
the same for anyone who's doing freelance work because they want to maintain that relationship. So they're not going to slack. And if they do, that business owner is going to find someone else.
Mhm. Yeah, in my experience, because we work with a lot of moms actually at our university, and in my own experience with Kelly, I have found that moms get stuff done,
Yeah.
and are organized and tend to be able to do a lot of different things, and so just a lot of great soft skills that they would bring to any kind of work
I
as a
yeah,
freelancer.
100% agree. Okay, my next question for you. What do you think are the keys to building a successful VA or freelance business?
Yeah, a couple different things. I mean, I think first of all, we're a big proponent of you figuring out your niche. Like,
Mhm.
what is the thing that you feel you would love to do? Because there's no sense in leaving a job and then going to a business that you're doing work you don't enjoy. And so, sort of coming up with, what would that look like? And so, in at the university, we teach a course on finding your niche, and we talk about four different P's. So we talk about you figuring out what your passions are. What are
Mm,
you interested in? What is it about your past work life or things that you've done that you actually really enjoy? So document that all under the P for passion. The
mm,
second P is proficiencies. What are you good at? Like, what would your soft skills look like? What are your good traits? What are your best work skills, your technical skills? And you may have to ask people that you know really well in your life to say, what do you think I'm good at? Because I'm often very critical of myself. And so I need a third party to say, what are my skills that I'm really good at, in terms of proficiencies.
mm,
And then the next P is what we call profitable niches. And so this is basically what areas are most in demand right now. We talked about serving course creators. We talked about virtual administration. We talked about e-commerce. So
mm,
how do your passions and proficiencies fit with your sort of your personality or
mm.
what's actually in demand right now. So we do a lot of that at the university, is trying to identify what is your best niche. So I'd say that's the first step, is figuring out what you'd like to do, what might be in demand, and trying to like intersect those two.
Mm,
And then from there, the second thing is obviously skill development,
mhm.
saying, thinking about taking an inventory of all the skills that you have and then looking for your gap. So if I am going to be someone that's going to help create courses for clients or help them set up their course platforms, you're organized, you have some good technical skills, you have a lot of that, but you've never learned a lot of the platforms that are they are building their courses on, such as Kajabi and Teachable. So
Mhm.
so that might be your skill gap. I take some of that training, I master those tools, and suddenly I have a great service that I can offer clients. And
Yeah.
so figuring out your niche, identifying those skill gaps
Right.
that you have. And then I think the other thing is identifying your audience. So who is
Mm,
your dream client?
mhm.
There's one thing to figure out what you want to do, and
Right.
then the next thing is, who do I want to work with? So
Yeah.
what is that dream client? And when you start your business, it tends to be broad at the beginning, because
Mhm.
you're at the place where I just want a client. I
Yes.
just want to build my confidence by landing client number one. And I get that. But as you grow, there's a real importance to find your people.
Mhm.
As you are working with life coaches, or you're working with financial advisors or real estate agents or whoever it might be, you start to realize, these are my people. These are the ones that I love to work with. I tend to resonate with their businesses and their vision for their businesses. And so I want to sort of drill down, and I'm going to be an OBM for women entrepreneurs, or I'm going to be OBM for real estate agents, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be, because that seems to be my sweet spot.
Yes.
And by doing that, you become more competitive because you're more distinctive,
Mhm.
you're more focused. You often can charge more because you've become more of a specialist in that area.
Yeah.
And if you're not there yet, those that are tuning in, don't worry about that. Sometimes you got to start broad
Right.
and work with a whole bunch of people and realize, no, I don't prefer to work with that particular audience, or it didn't really fit
Mhm.
over here. I'd prefer to work with this type of audience, and then start to really prospect in that space.
Yes.
The next thing I would say is you want to have your real estate built up
Mhm.
online. So I'm a big proponent of you having a website. I know that's a big step at times, but
Mhm.
fortunately the platforms are easier than ever before. You could set up a quick website on Wix, Wix.com, for $5 or $6 a month.
Yeah.
You could use Squarespace, which is a
Mhm.
few bucks more a month, where they have the template and they help you kind of get set up. You
Right.
could choose to dive into WordPress, but I'm an encourager of you having your digital footprint, your
Mhm.
thing that you can direct people to.
Right.
It was interesting. My one daughter. This is a bit outside of freelancing, but she has a clay jewelry business. So she's selling and she's making this beautiful clay, and she set up an Etsy store, And she was building her business, selling quite well. And we said, you need your home base, you need your brand. And so literally, because my kids are quite technical, she took our Shopify course, and in about 3 days, she had built her Shopify store, and under her own domain, and it was her. And suddenly her business has gone like this, because now she's branded it. It's her own domain. It's
Yeah.
it's it's where people are going. And so having your own place where people connect with you and learn about you is really important,
Yeah.
in addition to having social media and having a LinkedIn
Right.
profile as well. And then the last thing I would say is, in terms of building a business, once you figure out your audience and you figured out your niche and you've got your piece of real estate, you're building it, and again, a website is a work in progress. You want to start the prospecting phase. So that might mean joining targeted Facebook groups where your audience hangs out and you're just adding value and you're connecting with them.
Right.
You might be making meaningful connections on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
You might be building your list of what Russell Brunson calls your Dream 100. Uh, Russell Brunson is the founder of ClickFunnels,
Yeah.
but he talks about your Dream 100, writing down the 100 clients that if you had your way, that you would be able to work with them. And
Mhm.
then starting to follow their content and starting to connect with them on LinkedIn and starting to make those inroads into building a relationship with them that could turn into a client. So those are a few of sort of many things that could help you to start a business.
Right. Yeah, those are all great tips. I mean, in a nutshell, you've just given people a really good basis on what to do and how to do it. So
Mhm.
that's awesome.
Sure.
Okay, so I have one final question for you. How does Freelance University prepare students for future remote opportunities? I mean, we know that you provide an abundance of training in different areas. So, what other things are you doing?
Yeah, so I think one of the distinct things, and most people would say this about our university, is that we've got great courses. So we'll teach you the courses that will keep your skills up to date in the tracks that you need to learn.
Mhm.
But what we've added and what makes us unique is we have a mentorship component. And so these aren't business mentors, so to speak. They're mentors in specialized areas. So we have a WordPress mentor, we've got a social media mentor, we've got a VA mentor. And
Mhm.
so we've got 8 or 9, I can't remember how many now, paid mentors, and they basically support our students. So if you're wanting to learn how to build WordPress sites
Mhm.
and you're taking the training and you're feeling stuck along the way, a mentor comes alongside you and helps you, answers your questions. And so
Oh, that's
so
great.
it's learning in the context of community.
Yeah.
And what makes that special is that we have a very warm community. So people that are very savvy, they have very successful businesses that are working as mentors, but they are supporting our newer students to kind of get their businesses off the ground. And so it's not like you go to some place and you take a course and there's no one to ask, there's no support. We've added that layer of community, and it works really well. And
Yeah.
so often our students will say, well, I came because I needed MailChimp and I needed this course, but then I didn't realize you had this community. And now I've built up so many connections,
Mhm.
and I've actually landed new clients through your community. And I've gotten so much support. I will stay for the community. And so people will continue to renew their membership
Yeah.
because we're coming out with new things, and also
Right.
because they love our community. So that is the distinctive feature of what we do, is we do
Mhm.
everything in the context of community, and we do it with a big heart. And so a lot of people will say, your courses seem like I'm sitting across a table from you at Starbucks and I'm learning from a friend. And that is, we design the courses, and all our instructors know that's how we approach this, with authenticity and with
Mhm.
great insight, but not as like this almighty expert. It's like we've learned like you all need to learn, and we're going to help you as best as we can. So
Yeah.
it's a
I love
great warm community.
Yeah. And sometimes people just want to know they can ask questions because it may not make sense to them. So having someone available as a mentor is wonderful.
Mhm. Most definitely.
Okay, so I didn't mention earlier that Craig, Freelance You, and Hire My Mom partner together because obviously we have an audience that needs training. He has an audience that sometimes needs work. So, it's a great partnership. So we'll link below to how you connect with Craig if you want to check out his website, freelanceu.com, right?
That's
How,
right. And they can go to, I think it's freelanceu.com/hire my mom
right.
to go to a special page that we've created with you.
Yes. And where else are you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Our Facebook handle is just facebook.com/freelanceu. And the other ones are my freelance you. So if you go into Instagram, you'll find us on my freelance you. You can connect with us through all of those areas as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Craig. This has been, I'm sure that people have had their pen and paper out taking notes. You've provided a lot of great information. So thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's great to be with you today.